Hello and welcome to Little Red Notebook's Take a Seat series, a series of short conversations with neurodiverse trailblazers. In this episode, we're joined by Dr. Micah Perez, founder and director of Neurodiverse Therapies. Micah lives with late identified autism and ADHD. Welcome, Micah.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here, and I'm really honoured to take this seat with you today.
It's wonderful to have you here, and we've been so excited to get you on Take a Seat. So I want to start off by getting you to fill us in on your journey towards identification of autism and ADHD.
I guess it's been a lifelong journey, but it really kind of came to the fore in adulthood. So in my late kind of 20s, I started kind of questioning, my identity, thinking about where I fit in terms of, Filipino culture, Australian culture, even European culture. So I was really kind of suffering, I guess, the crisis of identity. And I remember feeling like an alien that was dropped off on a planet that wasn't designed for me. That's the kind of best way I can describe that, at that age. And so I love reading, and I love learning. And so I think I just kind of deep dived into a whole bunch of things. And then in my work, I kind of came to a point where, most of my caseload were neurodivergent, so autism and or ADHD, or both. And for me, it was like looking at a mirror, but not at the time. I was still kind of not sure that was, that was who I was. I just thought I was just really uniquely placed to be able to understand the needs of autistic and or ADHD people. And then fast forward to my 30s now, and I got really curious. And, with the advent of social media and, post-COVID and all of these things where we were kind of stuck a bit more indoors and, had devices, around us all the time, I think that's when I started deep diving even more into the research and into some papers and things that were talking about a female phenotype and how, where a lot of women were starting to come out and say, oh, I actually am autistic or, or ADHD, and I don't actually have bipolar disorder. I don't actually have all of these things. They were misdiagnoses. And that really kind of, I guess, resonated with me. And so I pursued diagnoses, didn't get them, fortunately or unfortunately, just with the way that things are. And then I was basically told that I was too high functioning to warrant a diagnosis. So after a period of rejection sensitive dysphoria and feeling really bad and sorry for myself and questioning everything, I came to the realization that that is my identity. Actually, that's the missing piece. And so I've just ever since I've done my own kind of training and upskilling in this area, and I now am really such a fierce advocate for it. And in the work that I do now, it's really informed by that of I really think that it's self-diagnosis and self-identification is just as valid. And there are limitations and barriers, especially for people like myself, to be able to get a diagnosis and an accurate diagnosis if you are even able to access assessment and therapies. And I'm really cognizant of that in my work. So now, through all of that, I'm very proud to say that I'm a late identified ADHDer, and I really just take that on board as this is my identity, this is the lens, and that I see myself and I see the world, and it's been incredibly liberating and incredibly empowering. And my journey resonates with a lot of people, and definitely my clients. So I'm really thankful for all of the steps that have taken me to where I am now.
How significant was that identification? Because you talked about the disappointment and dysphoria around the diagnosis side, but
Yeah.
how you talked about the liberation of that identification. What does that actually mean for you?
I think for me it was like incredibly validating, to to kind of have words and a framework, even though the term ADHD I'm not really a fan of, because it doesn't explain what exactly is happening, right? But at the moment, we just don't have a better term for it. But I think for me, it was incredibly validating because it gave me language and it gave me a framework that other people can understand, or at least can be educated on, and to say, oh, but I'm not just weird, or I'm actually not broken. I'm a person whose wiring is not neurotypical. I'm a person whose nervous system is really sensitive. I'm a person who has really varied but very deep interests. So that has been freeing, and that has been liberating. And so now I don't feel like I'm an alien. I still very much say that the world as it is was not designed for neurodivergent people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have, so many of the functional difficulties that we have every day. But I don't feel like an alien. I feel like I belong in the world. I just, am creating a space for me and for people like me to be able to coexist, so that we feel like we have a right to be here and we belong here as well. There's a space for everyone in the world, and what we have is just one of many neurotypes, and I think that's really such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about the alien construct and the concept of feeling alien.
Yeah.
And, I have a lot of clients who feel the same. And I'm very much the same as well. I've always felt that, I'm saying, why don't I belong here?
Mm,
Why don't I fit?
mm, mm.
And, to be able to shape your own space within the world, not
Yeah.
necessarily, planting yourself in the neurotypical world as we
Mm,
try to do through masking
mm.
and trying to conform to the neurotypical constructs that have been put in place. But how do you cope, and what strategies do you put in place to kind of create that belonging?
Yeah, I mean that's such a loaded question. That's such a
It is, isn't
complicated question, and I will try my best to
it?
answer even. It's like tip of the iceberg, that question. Because the first thing I will say is there's no one size fits all, right? For that
Yeah.
question. I mean, I freaking love that question, but yeah. So I'm not here to say, this is prescriptive and this is what every neurodivergent person should do, because that's absolutely not the case. So I can only talk from my own experiences. But so a big part of that for me has been self-awareness, number one. So really, uncovering and being like really hella honest with myself, and what works and what doesn't work, what I like and what I don't like. Yeah. And being able to just really crack that open, and improve my own awareness of self, and where I fit has been paramount. So after that, then it's been a journey of self-advocacy. So once I was really aware of everything that I am and everything that I'm not, then became the process of being able to articulate that not only to myself but to other people, and without guilt and also unapologetically, and that's still a work in progress. I think I'm at a stage now where I feel safe maybe 80% of the time to unmask, and 20% I really don't. And so I still don't feel like I'm 100% authentic in all spaces and in all times. But that's not my fault. And that's something that I'm really cognizant of, and really trying to work hard to be able to make more spaces safe for people like myself. So greater than 80% one day. And then it's been about self-efficacy. So building and a big part of that for me has been building my executive function skills. So my cognitive regulation skills, my emotional, and subsequently my behavioral regulation skills, which have been absolutely transformative for my life. And so that really informs the work that I do now with clients that I have. And so through all of those things, then I've become really self-determined, and almost like to a point where I feel like self-actualized. And it's because throughout all of this, I now spend most of my time feeling like I have autonomy, feeling like I have competence, feeling like I have connections, meaningful connections, not only just with myself, but with with my loved ones, with my clients, with anyone who I come in contact with, whether they are also neurodivergent or whether they are neurotypical. I've been able to have kind of really honest, connections and forge those. So that's my attempt at trying to answer that really complex question.
I think you did really well, actually. There was a lot of it that I can relate to, and you're right. It is the tip of the iceberg. But I think the key thing that I took away from that is the fact that you have to shape it in your own way. You have to find your own space within it.
Absolutely. Your reframe and your understanding and how you attack that, right, is so unique, and it's so subjective, because we all have different experiences, and that shapes us. We all have different genetics, and that also shapes us. But we also have different values, and different dreams and wishes in life. So what makes my life full and meaningful will be totally different to you, right? And will be totally different to everyone else that we come in contact with. So absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that because the neurotypical space is very much about conforming into a narrative, that whereas the neurodiverse space, I think, has the opportunity to be just this collective. As opposed to some set, standard or some set construct. And that's what excites me the most when I'm working in this space and actually playing in this space is the fact that it becomes a collective, not an expectation.
And I feel that I learn, just as much, or if not more, than when I am sharing and guiding others. I think I'm always learning, and I'm always surprised when I'm working in this space, because no day is the same. And we can prepare for sessions and whatever it is, but your client comes in and you're just like, okay, just going to just check all of that out, and let's just, okay, I'm here, I'll meet you where you're at, and let's go. And I really love that. Like, I really thrive in that, because I'm really naturally, I think, innovative and creative, and I can think on my feet like that. It's one of my superpowers. But I can totally appreciate that that's not everyone else's jam. And when you're really new to this space, I mean, I'm not new to this space, but when you're new to this space, I appreciate that can be really what's the word, daunting. And talk about oh, but there's this narrative, and like neurotypicals really like for things to be the same and simple, and I call that very vanilla. But we neurodivergent people are anything but vanilla. But conformative, unless of course we are expected to by society. So I think that what a wonderful thing, though, to be able to say, but we bring color and flavor into the world, and and hence why we've always existed, and why we exist now, and why we'll always exist, because the world needs us. Otherwise it would be really boring and probably cease to exist, right? So
yeah, I love that. You're of Filipino and Australian descent. How's that shaped your neurodivergence?
So I mean, again, so that's a really complicated question, which I love. Yeah, so again, like I'll attempt to kind of answer that a little bit simply for today's chat. Because I can talk about this stuff all day, really. But I think so. I'm very blessed. I think I'm very blessed that I have been exposed to two different cultures, and two different ways of living, and two really different countries, right? So I'm like incredibly blessed, and I'm so fortunate, to have my family and to have that to shape my identity. It's been tough though, because I think that's the duality of that and the contrasting of the cultures and values, I think in a way contributed to my crisis of identity, in my 20s. And I was really trying very hard to go, what do I like and don't like, and what is helpful and what's not helpful about both cultures. And I've tried to really forge a combo attack of the two. And that's kind of then really shaped me in adulthood, and also in terms of being really culturally safe and responsive in the work that I do. The one of the downsides, I guess, has been feeling like I don't belong in either, but then trying to create a space where I belong in both. um and so when I'm with Australians, I feel very Filipino. And when I'm with Filipinos, I feel very Australian. So it's a really strange uh, place to be in.
Yeah.
But and it's challenging, but I also love it because I feel like I'm a hybrid. And just like with autism and ADHD, the clash of two different ways of being, so too is being Filipino Australian. And I'm very grateful to my family and to my parents, who just accepted me as I was, and who didn't have labels for me. They just called me Micah. And I will always love and appreciate them for that. The downside of that was I didn't have any labels or any other frameworks, with which to go off when I felt like Micah wasn't enough to be able to capture or at least explain my difficulties and my differences. But thankfully being exposed and being raised in a different culture where we do have labels, and we do have different kind of systems, that kind of helped me to be able to go, okay, I'm Micah, but also part of being Micah means this, a part of my identity means this. And so I think I've been able to make a kind of a space for myself, so my Filipino and Australian and autism and ADHD can coexist, and I still feel strange every day, but it's me.
When you started talking about autism and ADHD with your family, how was the reception to that and the understanding of it?
So it kind of, well, I think the very first reaction was what? Was one of shock and possibly denial. But over time, it's kind of been, well, if that power to you, if that makes sense to you, and that's how, and that's who you are, and you've got the words for it now. Amazing. Will we use those words for ourselves? No, because we're not.
Yeah, of
But
course.
for you, absolutely. So yeah, so again, like I'm very, very fortunate to
Yeah,
have that. Yeah. And I know that that is not everyone's experience.
yeah. Tell us about neurodiverse therapies, your practice.
Yeah, so I founded Neurodiverse Therapies in 2023. And so that was really born out of a desire, and a passion, and really my ikigai, right? My reason for being, reason for getting out of bed, was because I saw a gap in current services, and as a patient myself, as a client, and with my lived experience, I was really frustrated with the lack of empathy and cultural safety and responsiveness, at least in the spaces where I was working. So I really kind of saw an opportunity to be able to distill, I guess, my lived experience, my clinical experience, my research experience, and to be able to say, hey, I get it and I see you, and this is what I can offer to kind of help you. And I guess I saw myself as a bit of a test client, like I saw myself as, well, if I can help myself, surely I can help other people, and surely there'll be people who resonate with my journey, who I can support along the way. And so, yeah, so things are going well. I'm building my caseload and, keeping busy with different projects and different things. But I'm really able to, because it's my business and my practice, I'm really able to work with my strengths and to work with my difficulties, not against my difficulties. So that's been really really empowering. And hopefully, I can inspire other neurodivergent people to also, be able to take the reins of their own life. And if things are not working for them in the systems that exist, to be able to have the courage and take the leap of faith and make their own space and make their own opportunities, right? So yeah, so again, look, I am obviously very blessed and lucky and very privileged to be able to be in a position where I can do that. And I couldn't have done it by myself. I have amazing support systems to be able to do that. But that's also, I think, what I want other people to know is you can do anything, but not everything. And you can do hard things, but with the right supports. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and I think I'm a living, breathing example of that. So, yeah. So I hope that even if part of my journey resonates with someone out there, I think I'll take that. I think that's such a positive thing to be able to do in the world.
One of the things that I'm very focused on and very committed to is to unleash the potential, to
Yeah.
unleash the treasures that and the gifts that exist within each individual. What are some of your strategies to help unleash that?
I think I spoke. So the journey that I have been on, I spoke like earlier in the piece, is very much what informs the work that I do. So the first thing really is holding a mirror to a neurodivergent person and going, okay, so what do you see? Who are you as a person? What makes you tick? What is important to your life? What's your ikigai? Actually, what are your values? How do you see your life? What do you want out of life? And these are such basic questions, right? But never questions that we seem to be asked. And certainly not in my journey was I ever asked, about any of these things. What's your, tell me about your spiritual beliefs, tell me about your culture, how has that shaped, your life, and what are some of your self-limiting beliefs, actually, that's kind of keeping you stuck in this. So yeah, so I ask those questions. I have a very honest conversation the very first time that I meet people, and we basically, vibe each other out, and because for me, I always say it's really important. Relationship and connection is number one. So when you are working with neurodivergent people, if you don't cultivate a space first of safety and trust, yeah, you're not going to get anything. You're not going to be able to do anything. You're not going to get anything out of them. And that's just a waste of time and money. So that's number one, is connection, right? And then if you both feel safe and connected and trust each other, and in the process, in the journey, then the real work can begin, which is really about skill development and knowledge acquisition, right? And so there's so many different ways that you can do this, but how I do it is through development of executive function. And so that looks and feels different depending on who I'm working with. But at the moment, so I do that like face to face, like in the clinic here on the Gold Coast, and I also provide telehealth services for people who can't access bricks and mortar services, or for people who are nowhere near where I am, but obviously are keen and resonate with my approach. And so a lot of the time, it is about uncovering those strengths. We are so good at telling ourselves and other people what we're really shit at. But we're really not great at saying what we're good at. And so I think that's the first thing. But you know what, though? It also comes with life experience. We are taught from an early age that we're not enough. And we're taught from an early age all of the things that we can't do. And
Yeah.
so as a whatever age you are, right, when you are able to have someone to be able to help you to unpack and balance out the shit with the good, that lights something up in you, you know, like when you are able to see, oh, actually, okay, I can do that. Look at how good I am at doing that. There's like it's like it unlocks something in your brain where, you know, and that's where neuroplasticity starts to happen, but in a good way, not a bad way. And then we look at, okay, well, where are the gaps? Where are the gaps in the skills and in the knowledge? And then we fill them. So I'm working with kids. I absolutely have to work with the caregivers. I don't work with kids in isolation because that child is part of a galaxy, and we need to be able to work with all of the stars in that galaxy as well. So when I work with adults, we, you know, as much as possible, I want to work with the partners, with the significant others, as well, and so work with families as a whole unit, because, you know, as a therapist, there's only so much I can do in 1 hour or 2 hours or wherever it is, and I see clients,
Yeah.
you know, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, sometimes, you know, even less than that. And there's only so much you can do in that time. So really, the real work and the transformative work happens outside of therapy. And so I don't understand why that's not how we operate anyway. So that's something that I have seen as severely lacking, and you know, it's such a shame. So that is so that's part of the work that I do, is working on those different levels, and beyond the family unit, it's okay, so who else is supporting this family, and let's make sure that we're on the same page, and let's make sure that we are empowering, not disempowering people, so that they are not, you know, relying on externals and relying on therapy for the rest of their life. I think we have a massive problem, in Australia anyway, of like over therapizing neurodivergent people. And it makes me really sad because, you know, if you're doing years of therapy and you're not getting any better, there's something wrong with the therapy, right?
Yeah.
Not you. It's not you. There's something wrong with the approach, or, you know, whatever it is that's happening. But, you know, I don't believe that someone should be doing years and years and years and years of therapy and not getting better. So, you know, like, I'm really passionate about that, and I'm really passionate about value for money. So when people see me, the worst thing that they could possibly say is, well, that was a fucking waste of time and money, which I
Yeah.
don't ever hear. But, you know, that would be my worst nightmare, is if someone turned around and said, well, that was not worth it. So, you know, I'm very passionate about that. I know I went on so many different tangents, but I hope that Esther, I hope that I answered some of your questions, some of it.
I think, Mike, one of the great things about listening to you is the fact that you connect in so many ways, and
Oh, thank you.
I love the way that you talk about, we also have to look beyond the therapeutic, and really, get value out of, that expansion
Yes,
of understanding,
100%. Yeah.
and how each individual can shape their existence and take advantage of the gifts and treasures that are just lying in wait,
Yeah, absolutely. Just
and of
wanting
course
to come out, needing to come out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and the therapies are, really important within that, but then you're right, they then have to then move into, or be supporting the secondary narrative.
Yeah.
What is there
Yeah.
to unlock? What is there within? You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, hearing that from you and hearing those thoughts from you are very, very inspiring. I want to go on a bit of a tangent now and kind of go within Micah's world. And one of the things I read was that music is very
Yeah.
important to you, singing and guitar. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So music is a non-negotiable for me. So from a neurodivergent perspective, music for me is incredibly regulating. So it helps me to switch from sympathetic nervous system activation to parasympathetic nervous system activation. So in other words, it takes me from feeling heightened and stressed and anxious and kind of hyper aroused to just the right amount. And it helps me to tap back into my rest and digest system. But it also really lights me up and really makes me happy. And so because music is so important to me, and it's also important to my family, we say that music is in our blood, right? So things like singing, humming. I forever have like a playlist in my head. Like at any given time, I've got music playing in my head right now as I speak to you. So always.
Are we allowed to ask what it is? What's playing at the moment?
I mean, it changes all the time, but at the moment, what's in my head is what I was listening to this morning before I logged in to see you, which was music from the movie Call Me by Your Name. So
Yes.
I think the artist, and I'm so sorry if I get this name wrong. I think his name is Sufjan Stevens. But yeah, so it's very chill. It's got beautiful soulful kind of voice and guitar, and that's what I have playing in the background as I'm talking to you. But so listening to music, incredibly regulating for me, makes me really happy. Playing music is like another, like, next level. So I'm not a professional. I'm definitely an amateur musician, self-taught guitar. I did take piano lessons as a kid. When I was in high school, I did concert band, French horn, so lots of different kind of things there. But yeah, so music has always been with me, a big part of my soul. And I love being able to just have a jam. So yeah, absolutely. And I think I'm not really fussy when it comes to music, but there are definitely some genres, and I don't want to offend anyone, so I'm not going to say what they are, but there are definitely some genres that really do the opposite. That really make me really angry. So because they're not my jam. But yeah, so that's really important. And from a polyvagal theory perspective, music is like such a powerful strategy. And also from childhood, in terms of learning and neuroplasticity, if you as a child learn music, it's like you're learning another language. So it's
It is.
incredibly important, actually, for driving neuroplasticity. If you are able to learn music and if you enjoy music, then I definitely encourage it as a way to be able to unlock some of these beautiful gifts and treasures and strengths and different things. You never know, it could end up being like a really powerful regulating strategy, like for me, or it could be like a pathway into a career, or something. So you never know. So I definitely encourage parents of neurodivergent children to see if music is something that lights your kid up, because you definitely won't regret it if that ends up being really, really great for them. Yeah, so that's music. Love music.
It's funny. I feel a little bit better now because I'm always playing music in my head. This week it's been Space Oddity.
Okay, yeah, love it.
Yeah, for some reason it's been playing over and over and over. I love it. It's like I find music like an invitation to another world, and that's a world without rules, without structure. It can go in any direction. You can take it into, you can interpret it any way you want. And that's what I love about it. I think because there's no confinement within it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so, and that's the thing. It's like a buffet, right? It's like a
It
buffet of
is.
so many different things. It caters to so many different tastes. So it would be very hard for a human being, no matter what neurotype you are, to not find some kind of music that really speaks to you. Right?
Yes.
And so so absolutely. And how lucky are we that we have so much tech now that allows us to be able to enjoy music in any way that we like.
Yeah. Now we're going to finish off, but I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you one final question.
Sure.
Which is harder, learning French or windsurfing?
Wow, that's really a tough question. I love all these tough questions today, SJ. I think that I mean, my answer would have to be very diplomatic because both of those skills require very different parts of learning. So windsurfing is incredibly taxing on the body. But from a DCD, I have DCD. From a coordination, motor planning, everything perspective, like really difficult, but incredibly rewarding when I am not falling off the board and when I'm able to when I'm able to uphaul and read the weather patterns right and move with and against the wind, like I feel like I'm soaring. So incredible. Incredible, but French, on the other hand, is incredibly taxing on the brainy parts. So the language centers in the brain and my attention and my focus. So it's challenging in that respect. But again, like equally rewarding when I'm able to immerse myself in a French speaking place, a French speaking culture, and then not feel like there's that barrier, right? Because connection is so important to us, and being able to unlock friendships and meaningful connections with people requires you to be able to speak and understand the same language. Yeah. So I'm incredibly grateful that my partner is French, and that his parents, it's a great thing that his parents, I guess, don't speak English, because it's forced me. What a shame, right? To have to learn French, the
Yeah,
beautiful language
absolutely.
that it is, to be able to connect with them, because relationships are really
Mhm.
important. But at the same time, Julian, my partner, is the one who introduced me to windsurfing, and so I'm incredibly grateful for that being one of his interests, because that's something that I never ever would have done by myself. It's a hard sport to get into, but yeah, I'm incredibly grateful to him for introducing me to those two things, which are also loves of my life now. So thank you, Julian. I really love you for that.
It's so wonderful to have you, and it's been great having a chat with you. And
Thank you.
I wish you all the best. It's great to have someone like you operating in the space and helping, the generations of neurodivergent individuals to define their space, to find their place, and to unleash their talents and gifts. Thank you for being part of Take a Seat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your seat. I'm really honored. I'm really grateful. So thank you so much for this, for the work that you're doing, the advocacy you're doing, and also for the sharing as well. Like I so appreciate it. So thank you so much, SJ.